what do you guys think about, making Adrian Markham the captain? Do you think there was a case to make Mayank Agarwal the captain, or Bhuvneshwar Kumar, or Washington Sundar?
Yeah, first of all, I agree with you, Karat, about the dangers of having an overseas captain. Certainly something that I was really conscious of last year when preparing for the auction. That was a very, very dangerous thing to do. We just come off in the 2021 season Owen Morgan, for example, who was pretty much playing as a specialist captain by the end of it, and it was really difficult to justify his place in the starting 11 based on simply his batting returns, and that is a great illustration of the dangers of an overseas captain for really premium spots. On the flip side, we saw Markram on the surface do a pretty decent job in South Africa, and also shows the kind of benefits of these multi-club ownerships across different leagues, in that they can almost trial him as a captain in a smaller league or new league, and then once they've evaluated him, they can make him a captain in this league instead. However, as you say, there was other options. I think Washington Sundar probably a little bit young still for the role, and teams seem reticent about using bowlers as captains, so that would be an argument against Bhuvi Kumar. But I certainly think that Mayank Agarwal would have been a reasonable option for sure. Maybe they were put off by what happened with him at PBKs in terms of, obviously the captaincy maybe affected his on-pitch returns. In the end, it was one of his poorest seasons for quite a long time with the bat, so maybe that was a consideration. But I don't hate it, but I can understand the concerns.
Sumesh,
Yeah.
your thoughts?
Yeah. So here's what I think. There are two spots in 11 which you have to have. One is a captain and one is a wicketkeeper. Now, the issue with Hyderabad is, for them, both of those spots are overseas players. They don't have a proven Indian wicketkeeper as well. It has to be either Klassen or Glenn Phillips, and Glenn Phillips has not been keeping lately, so that sort of locks in Klassen. Now, here is a team which have a lot of good players, but they have two spots which give them, because of their own choice, it doesn't give them a lot of flexibility. So this is where I feel that if those two players for some reason do not deliver, they would actually, they will struggle to find alternates. Other than that, it's a solid team.
I was expecting that you'd say that someone like Rahul Tripathi would have also been your captain,
but
given how much you like him. But
and he captains his domestic team as well. So
yeah,
he has captaincy experience. Yeah.
Yes. So they're, like you said, their 11's more or less settled given the options that they have. Probably, I think the only call that they have to make is that who plays, whether it is Klassen or whether it is Glenn Phillips.
Yeah.
Sumesh, you said that it's Klassen. Dan, your call on that?
Yeah, I lean towards the same. The two factors really. One, they paid a lot more money for Klassen, and two, you can't underestimate that. It's amusing, but you can't underestimate that. And also the recency bias in terms of current form as well, with Klassen coming off the back of excellent performances of late. So you can understand why that's likely, I think, too.
I think we should circle back to the format and ask Dan. I mean, what were the actual gaps that SRH had? Because they did not have a very good season last time around. We forget, just because they bought a few good players, we just tend to forget that they have been underperforming for a while. Especially last to last season was a forgettable one, and last season also they started well, but just got derailed and almost were making a couple of changes every game.
Yeah. So this team is a team that I think has struggled quite significantly kind of since the COVID break kind of stuff, in terms of that. There's quite a split between when they were performing well and performing badly. Ultimately, I do firmly believe that they were playing over the last couple of years a really dated brand of cricket, one that was maybe successful 5-6 years ago, but really has struggled to evolve subsequently. They went really bowling heavy, but then they lost a bit of bowling quality. Losing Rashid Khan but retaining Williamson last year was, I think, one of the worst recruitment decisions that I've ever seen in any league. And look, they as a team, I just didn't really feel that they had an identity that I wanted to buy into as a fan, if that makes sense. I found they were a boring team to watch. They were unsuccessful, and it became a bit stale, I think, ultimately. And they've cleared the decks from the management perspective. So Tom Moody's gone, Kane Williamson's gone. Now they brought in Brian Lara, and they've got Aidan Markram as captain. Look, in theory, the recruitment looks quite nice. The recruitment does indicate that maybe they are going to play a different way this year, more of an attacking, higher intent brand, which definitely would applaud. But I think the jury is out, really, because this is Brian Lara's first job as a T20 head coach, and it doesn't get much more high profile than this. So is he going to be an astute tactician? We don't know. We've seen many times that because you're a former all-time great player, that does not necessarily translate into being an all-time great coach or even a good coach. So and sometimes it's not even beneficial because you're expecting the players now to perform and have the same skills as you have as a coach. We've seen that many times, even in football, for example, in England too. Very, very, very common. And that could be an issue. We don't know. So the jury's out. We've got a new coach, we've got a new captain, hopefully a new style of play. If it all goes right, there could be a lot to like here.
I personally feel on this front that they've obviously plugged some gaps. Instead of having Williamson and Puran in the 11, they will have. I think regardless of whether you play Harry Brook, whether you play Glenn Phillips, or whether you play Klassen, I think all three of them are better than Ken Williamson for sure. And I feel they've probably probably upgraded that spot which Puran was taking in terms of the variety that they have. And I think they might be the only team in the competition that has 4 overseas batters, all of which who are capable of capable of hitting both spin and pace. And this is something that you not really find with any team in the competition. And this is not just this year, but I think we'll struggle to find a team that has had 4 overseas batters who are as good as against spin than what they are against pace. Moreover, they clearly lacked a wrist spinner or good spin bowling options, and they've upgraded that as well by going after Adil Rashid and Akil Hussain, and I think both of them are very good options. And depending upon where they are playing, they can play one of them, because they realized pretty much last time during the competition that there's no point having 4 players for one spot. Because they had Jansen, they had Faruqi, they had Sean Abbott, and they had, I think, Romario Shefford. So I genuinely think that they've done a very good job in terms of plugging the holes. The only hole that I see with this team is that on that they may not be that they don't have a good enough spin bowling option. They'll have to rely on one of Akil or Rashid to do the job. And how do they fit that player? Because I think they'll also want to play one of Jansen or Faruqi. Getting that balance right in terms of options, I think that is going to be the biggest challenge of Hyderabad this time around.
Yep, I agree, and I'm judging by Dan's silence that he is on board as well. I mean, again, to make things simpler, maybe Dan, you can give us your 11 and we can take it from there.
Sure. And I think there are a few ways that you can structure up, but ultimately the core of the group is going to be pretty predictable. I do like the fact that there are ways that they can structure up differently and use a potential impact player in a really nice way. So I look at Abdul Samad and I think this guy is like the perfect impact player. He's exactly what the impact player was designed for. And so I would start him in a group with, if they're batting first, and then have him as a bench option if you're bowling first. So Batting first would be something like Mayank Agarwal, Rahul Tripathi, Abhishek Sharma, Aidan Markram, Harry Brook, Heinrich Klaassen, Abdul Samad, Washington Sundar, and overseas spinner Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Umran Malik. And then if they're bowling first, you can swap out Samad and you bring in another pacer like a Natarajan or something like that.